Okay, we're going to get started. Good evening. My name is Jim DiGilio. I am the Executive Director of the Pleasure Island Chamber of Commerce. We're your hosts for this event tonight. We are going to be, if you wouldn't mind, by the way, before we get started, anyone has cell phones? So we don't get an orchestra in 4 minutes? That'd be great, thank you. Obviously, we're here for candidates one time. We've got two gentlemen that are running for mayor of Carolina Beach, and we've got two gentlemen that are running for council in Carolina Beach. The way that we're going to do this tonight is that each of the candidates are going to have an opening statement. After the opening statements are complete, we, over the last 2 months, we've been in the Chamber of Commerce. We asked the public to submit questions for tonight's event. We have those questions, so we're going to ask each candidate is going to have an opportunity to answer the questions that we have. These questions came from the public, residents of Carolina Beach. We will not be taking questions from the group tonight because we think it's fair that the people that took the time to write us their questions and send them in should get first priority. Once we're through and everyone has answered the questions that we've asked, each candidate will have an opportunity to make a closing statement, and that is our program for this evening. So we would ask that please give these individuals an opportunity to speak. We're polite, we're adults, and we would prefer if there were no rude actions from anybody in the crowd. So we hope we can give you a good informative session tonight and help you make your decisions on who you're going to vote for. So we're going to open up, as I said, with each of the candidates' opening statements. We're going to start with Vincent Segal tonight. We're going to kind of go in order, so everyone gets an opportunity, in some cases, to answer questions first, and in some cases, an opportunity to answer questions fourth. So we're trying to be fair there. Vincent, you can start off with your opening comments, please.
Good evening. Thanks to everybody coming out tonight for this. Hope it's informative for all of you. I'm Vince Casino, for those of you who don't know me. Been living here full time for 6 years now. Pretty late tonight. Ran 4 years ago for council when I was relatively new in town. We've been coming down with 13, 14 years before we moved down full time. But finally decided to make the move down full time 6 years ago, and absolutely love it here. We have 7 children, 10 grandchildren that just love coming down to this town. They love the family-friendly part of our town. I'm running because I spent a career in finance, and the town is getting ready to undergo some significant spending on infrastructure, and I think that finance background can be beneficial to the town. We really just want to see the town keep moving along the path that it's moving on. It's shown great growth and change over the last 2 years, and it's changed for the better, and I want to see that continue. So thank you very much. Appreciate you all being here.
Wayne?
Good evening. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. It's very important the way our government is run in this country, but also this town. So thank you for taking the time to actually be here. Also, we'd like to thank the other candidates up here. It's not a very convenient or easy decision to run for particularly the municipal government in a very small town. And, it's everything we do is eyes wide open. And if you're like me and maybe one of the others, you know a good bit of the people in town. So we're never going to go anywhere without somebody saying, hey, I don't really like that, but I really love this. But that's the great part of being in a town this size, and I love it. I've lived here for 21 years. My parents came here on their honeymoon, actually. For the last 9 years, I've been on planning and zoning. I currently serve as the chairman. I believe I've been chair for 4 years. I also serve on your board of adjustments, and I'm the vice chair of that. I also serve as the vice president of the Carolina Beach Police Foundation that we formed to help these fine gentlemen in the back get the recognition and services and things that we feel like they need, even if sometimes it's outside of the town budget. So we raise money to promote and assist the Carolina Beach Police Department. I'm running simply because I've had a lot of experience in our government. I actually care about some of the issues. Some of the issues I've had opinions on for years. Got the background, I believe, to serve and to help you with a minimum of a learning curve. I'm excited to serve you. And if you have any questions about how I may vote, I think you can get a good sampling of my logic or my reasoning, whether you agree with it or not. The last 9 years on planning and zoning, every one of those meetings is on YouTube. So if you have insomnia sometime, that will be a great cure for that. So again, thank you for being here. Thank our officers of the CBP for being here. We appreciate you. And thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. I always waiting here for welcoming everybody. And I hope that no one had made up his mind or her mind yet. Okay, to be here, everybody firm is firm. I was born by the salt water of the Mediterranean in Alexandria, Egypt, and immigrated to Canada in '74. And I worked for I was lucky enough to work for major companies for aircraft, automotive, and the last one was high-tech. On my retirement years, before I really fully retired, I was a dean at Wake Tech Community College in Oakland. Now, coming here, I'm coming home to the salt water. My wife loves it here, and I'm here mainly because of my wife that she likes to be close to the beach. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, my career is 37 years of cost reduction. I already have experience to lead a multifunctional team with different backgrounds to deliver new products and install it in the field. So I have that, and I'm proud to say that all my projects we delivered successfully, and listen to this, within budget. Never went $1 over budget, and it's on time. And again, if you really have any questions, you want to discuss it in person, you can email me or give me a call, and I'll be happy to address your question.
Thank you. As the incumbent up here, I can't say enough how much it means to this town for these three gentlemen we run for office. Because one of the most common things I hear is, why in the world would you do that?
Don't you say why?
We'll get to that shortly.
We'll get to that. But you know what I mean. They are putting themselves out there to absorb the brunt of whatever may come their way. And I think that's fantastic, and I just want to thank all three of you for putting your name in the hat. Most of you know me. I'll speak as if there may be a few in the audience that don't. My name is Lynn Barbie. I'm the city mayor. Moved here in 1971, which why does that seem so long ago now, but it doesn't feel that way. And was educated here, high school, college here, bounced around a few jobs and came back here. I am not retired. I am the CIO at Element Packaging. Still working a full-time job. I keep thinking of that precious retirement, but it hasn't quite happened yet. Why am I running? If you've watched the town, we have made tremendous progress. When I came in 6 years ago, we were basically on the edge of bankruptcy. We had letters from the state threatening to take over. It was not a good place to be. Obviously, I didn't do all this work alone. I have a wonderful council working with me. And we work very hard to recover our finances. We have one of the largest reserves that we've ever had right now. And that's all for purpose. That is all to get us ready for these infrastructure projects. Just like you at home, if you don't have money or an income, they don't loan you money. And that's basically what we've been preparing for. And I'm sure we'll get into those projects in Jim's questioning. But for me, this is a continuation of 6 fantastic years of recovery. And I look forward to picking these upcoming
three highest priorities, if you want to be elected.
Okay, so number one, I would say, obviously, and you're gonna hear this a lot tonight, so I'm still a little bit of thunder from the other three. Infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. We know, that we're sitting on somewhere around $40 million of infrastructure deficit, you know, the spending that we haven't done, sort of is what most people call kick the can down the road. And we're finally in a financial position with a plan. That was one of the very first things I wanted when I got on council, is to create a plan, because you can't accomplish anything without a plan. We have that now, and we're set to go out for the funding for those projects and restart those projects again. So that's going to be good. So that's number one. Number two is really around tourism. We live in a tourist economy, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. Our businesses don't make it without tourism. It's my role, I represent you on the Tourism Development Authority, which is a county board that oversees the spending of RT money. I'm very proud of the fact, working with that group, we put a tourism master plan together. Again, you'll hear plan a lot from me. The tourism master plan, and my influence on that plan has been about balance. We need tourists, but we don't want to be overrun by tourists. And how do we balance that? I think we have a solid plan to do that in the upcoming years and make sure that our quality of life stays really high. And then the other thing is, again, it's quite a continuation. If you go back 6 years ago, you would never have seen an open house at the town. I think we had 6 open houses this year. And it's so important to bring the public and involve them in those. And they're well attended. If you haven't been going to them, I would encourage, if you want to know what's going on, we had open houses on stormwater, you know, all the way through. We're going to have the next one you're going to see is over the beach nourishment, where you can come in and ask questions directly to those people. So that's my style of government, is to keep the town hall. It's your government. It's not my government. It's your government. And keep those plans in front of you so you understand what's going on and you get a chance to put your thoughts into it.
Thanks, Yusuf.
Sorry.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
What, if elected, will be your three highest priority issues?
Okay, I have more than 3, but I will stick to the 3 that I
Give me the best hits.
I'm sorry, yeah. First, safety, okay? If you walk along the Lake Park Boulevard, you'll see people walking on the asphalt. There's no sidewalk, and the crossing points, it's at the dark, people cannot see the pedestrian. So my plan is one long sidewalk from the lake all the way to Alabama, and I think you've seen it in on the handout that I give, and some of them says the other street is not Alabama. Anyway, so safety is number 1, okay, and that's represent the sidewalk. And everyone I talk to, every second one we talk to, complain about the parking availability. And I think Mr. Barton here did a very interesting study. He measured the area of the sand and came up with a number of occupants without comfort, without rubbing shoulders. And he made the assumption that everybody goes to the beach, came with a car. And average 3 people per car, and came up with a number of the parking spots required to accommodate all those people. And surprisingly, the number he came up with matches the number of parking spots that we had. I have 2 issues with that. First, the area of the sand could be shrinking or expanding, so the number of people cannot be reliably determined. The other thing is that not everybody parks their car to go to the beach. So there are people, visitors, go to entertainment, shopping. So the number of cars available, number of cars required cannot be met. So the smart parking here for me is to increase the vertical parking rather than horizontal, because we're going to have the space for that. And the parameters for parking is to not to ruin the vacation feel of our beautiful town here. So it can be done in such a way to be attractive serve the purpose and close to downtown. That was safety and parking. The third one is the water bill. The water bill is, I get, was almost half the property taxes that I pay, and that's unreasonable. The water is very cheap, but if you look at details about your bill, it's not the price of the water, it's the treatment of the storm water, okay? And once you pay for the service, definitely you can make it cost less. Like when you go buy something, you're not gonna pay the price you ask unless it's reasonable for you. Here you don't have a choice, you have to pay. And I don't think any government official that I met or heard or seen can sit down and say, how can I save the taxpayers' money? Because it's the easiest way to go about it is to determine what we need and the taxpayer will pay. And that's not my style. My style is the 37 years experience is to cut costs through simplicity and efficiency. And there's, everywhere you look in the town, you will find room for improvement. Simplicity and efficiency. I came up with the word, because simplicity and efficiency are very well tied together. I came up with the word simple efficiency. I think we like that one. And water bill, again, if you attended the last debate, you were told that it's not going to go down. As a matter of fact, it's going to go up. And I think it's time to do something about that to make it go down. I have the means. I've been there before. I've been to many projects. It was costly, and I managed to bring it to a reasonable, deliverable, it wouldn't cost some time. Thank you, sir.
So my three priorities, and these are in no particular order, would be infrastructure, flooding, and public safety. That's the guys in the back and the guys over at the fire department. Because without that, nothing else really matters. So we have to be safe. We've seen that with a sister city very close by. I won't mention it tonight. Just what can happen very quickly. So public safety, that speaks for itself, I believe, with the reference I made. Infrastructure, we have probably more than half of the town, actually, where the infrastructure is so old, it will soon, it's at the end of useful life. So we see that, and the council we had, and I think maybe we started with the council before, I can't recall the date, but we've been talking about infrastructure for years, and our water, and stormwater, and our sewer. The council we have has actually got a plan in place now, and we are poised to have some bonds issued this year, thanks to a lot of work, no small amount of work at all with the town staff, the town manager, the deputy town manager, and the department heads. So we're going to borrow money to finish the rest of the project. That's going to come over years. It won't happen in a couple of years. If you recall, if you've been here for a while, we started a project east, and we got it about to 5th Street, and that's where it stopped. It didn't go all the way to the equivalent of 5th Street in some areas. Wilmington Beach was run much newer, so it wasn't there. So the infrastructure is needed, but there are streets in this town that do not have any stormwater current, and they're needed. I know a couple of people that walked in here, I won't mention their names, their street has none. And so it's public safety, infrastructure, and last is flooding. Now there's people in this audience who have been flooding for years and years and years. That needs to be addressed. It's talked about it often, but what can we actually do? Can you fix the problem entirely? Likely not, because we've got Mother Nature out there that she's going to do things, and there's some elevations we have to deal with. Can we make it better? I believe we can. There's also areas of town where you're flooding now. Never before did you flood. Some of you in the room may have flooded during BTCA, which was not this past September, but the one in 24, a lot of people got flooded. I'm in the real estate business, so I can tell you there were a lot of homes not in the flood zone that had water with significant damage. So I believe it's public safety, infrastructure, and our stormwater system. So I think I have a good handle on what has been done up to now, to try and address what the plans are going forward. But you're going to need a steady hand guiding these through. And the last thing, obviously, is flooding. Parts of town always flooded a little bit. It's gotten worse. And now I think some of the other communities maybe are seeing what they've been looking at for years. So I think we have to address it. I think it's incumbent upon us to try.
My three are kind of similar to what we've all been talking about, like you've heard here, obviously, infrastructure being number one. What Mayor Barbie talked about before, 4 years ago when I ran, one of the things that everybody ran on was infrastructure, which is Wayne said that kicked down the road for so many years. And one of the things that came out of that we all agreed on was the town needed to attack this as a strategic priority for the town. And to the mayor and the council's credit, they sat down and that became the cornerstone of the budget starting at that time. And everything was going to be surrounded around getting ready for infrastructure. To their credit, they held course on that for 4 years. So now we've got funding in place, we've got a plan for that, we've got a plan for sequencing to get the infrastructure done. So I think we need to keep on that path. What I hope to do is to make sure that from a budgetary standpoint, we stay within those cost constraints and everything. So that's really the way I'm looking at it. I want to see transparency about where we are, milestones on projects and everything, how we're running versus what we planned on spending. All those things, because as everybody said, infrastructure is not going to be fixed in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. This is a problem that's been building for 50 years now. So, we're going to ask for all your indulgence as well. There's going to be some disruptions as this goes on. But I think the town has done a great job of putting a plan together so far. I think we come out on the other side of this, we're going to be even better than we are today. Second for me is quality of life for residents. And that kind of goes along with budgetary things. We've talked about parking, we've talked about water, and so on. But like Wayne, I'm on the Carolina Beach Police Foundation as well. 65 down right here. One of the things from a budgetary standpoint, we want to make sure that as this town has gotten bigger, more people coming to it, we want to make sure that we're staffed for public safety here. We have one of the safest areas in the whole state of North Carolina right now, and we need to keep it that way. That's not one area that we want to cut back on spending on. But we want to keep a keen eye on the budget to make sure that the right resources are being devoted to the right projects, for sure. The third thing would be tourism. This is a great place for us to live, but tourism funds this town. We need to make sure that from a tourism standpoint, that we keep it an enticing place for people who want to come and visit. They want to come spend money here, they want to come invest money here, and that's what's going to keep this town growing, but in a positive way, which is what I think we all want to see.
You guys are almost concise. Well, appreciate it. We'll get there. I'm going to start this question with Lisa, please. Your answers first. Tourism drives much of our economy. How will you strengthen tourism while building year-round economic stability for residents?
If I'm a tourist, and I want to go to vacation and have a good time, first I'd like to have a place to stay. Second, a place food, clothes, entertainment. So if we increase the housing, and I think there is a hotel going up in where the sewage is, and somebody asked me, isn't that gonna take away from the property owners' business? I would say to that is no, because the tourists, they have priorities. Some people like to stay in a hotel, some people have to stay in a home, make themselves at home. Some people have to rent only 1 or 2 nights, but the long term for a week or 2 weeks, for instance, that is not going to compete. So the place to stay and shopping, encourage the shop owners, the business owners to boost up their business. Whatever they need, whatever problems they have, can be talked about, resolved. But this is a whole increase the tourism, right?
I'll ask the question again. Tourism drives much of our economy. How will you strengthen tourism while building year-round economic stability for residents?
I think I did address that by encouraging the business owners to flourish the business, whatever problems they have, that will be talked about and resolved along with the town. Can I add something else? Not related to some things he said.
You know, it's funny you asked that question. We did a forum last week with our neighbors down the street. I'm going to answer you the same way. This ain't CNN.
You've heard enough about the infrastructure. I heard about it a lot. In the last election cycle came up, and when I asked the question, are you going to do something about it? The answer was, don't pin that on me. Okay? That was clear answer. I'm not going to do anything about it because you're not going to pin it on me. So you heard there's a plan. You've heard it's going to cost money. You've heard it's been there 50 years. So 50 years, why is not anything happening to solve the infrastructure, especially in the last year? I've heard about it. I wanted to run for mayor last election cycle, but I missed the window. Okay, I didn't know that there was a window to be missed. So the infrastructure, even though there is a plan, there was a plan, but you don't see anything happen. Okay, maybe because of the budget, but I just think that whatever the other world.
You repeat that again?
Answer this one.
Okay.
Okay. You guys will talk now. Tourism drives so much for our economy. How will you strengthen tourism while building year-round economic stability for residents?
Carolina Beach has been a tourism destination since Captain Harbor over here on Harbor Avenue, bringing those people by boat down Harbor Avenue on the shoefly. If we did not have tourism, there's a couple of things we wouldn't have. Most of us probably would not be able to afford to live here because of what it takes to run a town, and they help pay part of that. In addition to that, I think the mayor's, he said it last year sometime, it's like a three-legged stool. We have to have tourism. We need them. But when a tourist gets here, what they want is they want something fun or exciting to do. They want to be safe. And they want the services. They want the restrooms that, like we're building on, that we've already built on Hamlet, like you have. And, we have a lot of tourism that's not related to the beach. If you look at Mike Chapel Park, there's all types of youth soccer and baseball and different things they do. So we've got the new bathrooms at Mike Chapel Park. What I think is important is to continue those type things. You have to continue those, and how do you do that? We have a MAC committee, it's a Marketing Advisory Committee, the TDA, part of the ROT funds that come in when someone rents a short-term rental, that 6% comes to us eventually in 1.5%. But if you look at the total of of what is spent in marketing for Carolina Beach and the surrounding areas, it's well over $1 million. You have to do that. And oh, by the way, you say, well, if we need that money for something else, why don't we spend it on that? You're not allowed to do that. ROT funds are controlled by the county. There are certain things you can spend them on. So I think we've developed we, meaning the town, not me personally, has developed some expertise at finding the things that we feel that our visitors here, I'm sure Curry Beach does exactly the same thing, what's important to our visitors, and then delivering on those. For example, the new bathrooms you'll see at the boardwalk. They'll be expanded, there'll be more access, there'll be double levels so you can get in from the ground level and also from the top. So those are the type things. Those are the type of things I think we have to continue to do, because we're not going to make it without tourism. If the tourists come, I think you have to have a council that makes the quality of life for the residents good when you come up with services, things that we are doing in the off-season. For me, and I'm sure the chamber, one of the most important things is not having it like it was 25, 30 years ago. Those of you who lived here know, 25 years ago, in the wintertime, a lot of these businesses closed, and restaurants, etc., and then they opened back up just before the season to get their staff trained and all that. So I think that's what we should, and I think that's what we will do. At least that would be my input.
Last night, I had the pleasure of attending a ribbon cutting ceremony for one of the new businesses in town, at the proximity of Rico's Pizza Place. I've never seen such a group of people, so many people gathering in one place to celebrate a new business. But the work that Rico's has done along partnering with the chamber, with Jim and his team, we need to build as good a relationship as we can with the chamber. They need our support, we need their support. I think current council has done a great job of that also. You see much more communication and interaction, tailoring programs towards bringing people in, Kite Festival, for example, Beach Music Festival, those kind of things that are drawing more tourists into town. And we're doing it in a way that we're also driving people towards businesses in town. Kite Festival, making that a 2-day event, to try and keep people in town for the weekend. The Music Festival, same thing this year. Those are the types of things, they've been successful events this town has had for years, but working in conjunction with the chamber, where advertising goes more, we're bringing more people in, new people into town. We've got them to see what we've got here and enjoy what we've got there. So I think balancing that with quality of life for our residents, though, or that goes towards the safety factor, police and fire. We need to make sure that we're cognizant of that. As crowds go, like I think we had 80,000 things 4th of July. Our police force and fire department didn't multiply by a factor of 10 that we get. They worked their butts off all weekend, all holiday, to make sure that we're all safe. So we have to keep them in mind also. But I think that this town has done a great job in conjunction with PPA, spending money in a great way, getting the right message out about the town. And we've got businesses that are coming here and investing money there. Might get proximity right now. We've had a number of businesses that have opened up there, more to come, and they've all right now been successful. We've seen changes over the last few years, and people that are moving here want more services, different services than we've had, and they want different experiences than we might have over the years here. And we need to adapt to that. Businesses need to adapt to that. Residents need to adapt to that. And I think it's all a success, a formula for success to continue to grow the town. And the more tourism grows, as Wayne said, the better it is for us as residents.
Any other question?
Yeah, repeat it. I just want to make you do your, I'm sure you're working on it.
It's great, man. Tourism drives much of our economy. How, by the way, personal last
Yeah.
how do you strengthen tourism while building year-round economic stability for residents?
Okay, this one, I'm not gonna tell you what I'm gonna do, I'll tell you what we're doing, because we've been doing it for quite a while. First, I just wanna say, you can pin infrastructure on me, because that has been the entire purpose of my 6 years on the council. You can make me accountable, you have your very first plan ever, you are finally in a financial position to do it, and we're gonna do it, so, hold me accountable. It's something you can do when you don't have money. So back to tourism. So I serve you as the vice chair of the New Hanover County Tourism Development Authority. And Mr. Hassan mentioned the three-legged stool, right? That has to stay in balance, right? The three-legged stool is the residents, the businesses, and the tourists. If you get that out of balance, it's all going to fall apart. Right? If tourism just takes over, who's going to want to live here? Because you're going to be surrounded by weekly rentals all over the place and people, and it just won't be a fun place to live. We know other beach towns like that, right? So we got to keep those things in balance. So what have we been doing? So your tourism master plan, which I am very proud of, is about growing that year-round economy. The hardest thing for your businesses is surviving those winter months. Quite often you hear people say, if you can't make money here in July, you're really not trying. Because there are so many people here, you could sell almost anything to them. But your businesses struggle in these off seasons, and so how do we address that? So you'll see it in the advertising plan and the destination plan that you see the TDA doing. And the TDA is our advertising arm, as these guys mentioned. So what we're trying to do is get people here in those shoulder seasons, staying longer. They're using a lot of kind of sometimes a little weird data. They're using all this AI now to figure out what people are searching for, what they want to do, what marketing trends work. That's how we knew that 80,000 people were here, because there were 80,000 cell phones that they pinged, which means their system knows where you are. That makes me a little nervous sometimes, but it's good data to have. So we're going to continue that, right? But we got to find balance. And you've heard me say it 100 times. My strategy is a good place to live, is a good place to visit. I do not like to go on vacation in a cookie cutter place. I just don't enjoy it. I like to go see how other people live, see what life is like for them. I like to try on their life for 7 days, right? So that's what we're doing here, right? We've made it a great place to live for us, and they will want to visit, right? That's why they come here. It's because they see you and the dream that you're living, and they want to live it for a week, and we should share that with them, right? So those are the major strategies that we've been pushing forward to grow tourism. And I think that is a critical piece of the plan, but as I said, in balance.
Okay, next question. I believe Wayne is going to answer this one first.
I will.
Okay. If faced with the decision over the next 2 years to either reduce spending or increase revenues, which would you choose, and how would you implement that strategy?
When you say reduce,
Reduce spending or increase revenues?
well, I would look at where we can reduce first, but certainly if there is a bottom line number you have to meet, you have to look at increasing the revenues. Now, if you look at the budget, there's a lot of different revenues. Are you thinking specifically about a revenue stream, or are you just asking in general?
Your general mindset regarding
My general mindset
either of
is,
those two actions.
my general mindset is I've lived here a long time, and my property has appreciated, like those of you who have lived here for a while. And I don't want to see a tax increase. I mean, I really don't want it, but if I had if I had to pick between an extra $25 a year and not having a full police department, I would probably go for the police department. But there are other revenue streams that wouldn't possibly increase your taxes. Mr. Hassan referenced parking. Maybe it is the second largest income to the town. So I would try to marry those, but I don't think I would do anything without getting out and talking to the residents and finding out what they thought. I mean, yeah, if I'm elected, I'll be on council, I will have a vote, but I think you probably need to get out into the public, give them the best information you have, and then ask your neighbors, because you're going to see them every day. What is it that you would prefer? I believe there's probably in every budget, there are things that you could cut. Maybe it's something you're going to need, maybe you're planning for the future, maybe right now just isn't the best time based on the income, based on the expense where you need to cut something. But, you know, I would look to reduce costs before I would increase revenue. And I am betting there are some costs that you could cut to try to avert that. Short of an emergency crisis, I don't see why that couldn't be done.
So back to the quality of life for residents and everything, I think public safety is paramount here. So, you know, to me, police, fire, anything safety related to the public is, you know, that's sacred. So there may be other areas of the budget that, you know, there could be some cost cutting in there. I'm not sure that there's enough that have gone through this year's budget. I look forward to sitting through a full budget cycle starting in January. Like any budget, there's always padding in a budget. I think council has done an excellent job over the last 3 or 4 years of driving out as much fat as possible. But if it came time to, you know, we really have revenue shortages, tourism dried up for whatever reason, you know, the only real driver is a property tax increase, which nobody wants to see, which is why we're going to be razor sharp on budget and cost of everything. You know, we can't be giving away revenue streams. The idea of free parking, that's what, 15% of our revenue budget right there. So imagine what would happen to our property tax if we did away with $3.5 million of parking revenue. Where would we make that up? Well, I think there's certain kind of things that are safer. You may not like them, but they're better than the alternative. I think that's what I would look for, is to see if there's any spending that could be cut, and then you have to look at revenue streams, which unfortunately they're not getting for a government entity. Property tax is one of them, unfortunately.
All right, Jay, one more time.
If faced with the decision over the next few years to either reduce spending or increase revenue, which would you choose? How would you implement your strategy?
So it's interesting. I guess I've been at this for 3 election cycles, and every cycle we hear about all this cutting that's going to go on. We hear about it on social media. There have been politicians come and go and come and go. Nobody can find this mysterious fact that's supposedly in the budget. So what that means is you have to cut services. So if you want to cut taxes, it's fine. You just have to tell me what you don't want, right? I mean, there is no fact in the system per se. So my strategy on controlling costs for you is tourism. It comes back to tourism. Let's talk about what tourists pay for you. They nourish your beach, doesn't cost you a dime. They pay for your lifeguards, doesn't cost you a dime. They build your public bathrooms, doesn't cost you a dime. So hopefully you see the theme. I can go on and on and on. That's that 3-legged stool, right? The tourists, I don't want the tourists to pay more than their fair share, don't get me wrong, but they have to pay their fair share. And that is how we control costs for you for longer than my term here, right? So that's why that balance is so important. If we lose tourism, your taxes are going through the roof, right? I mean, because as soon as you have to fork out the $20 million to nourish the beach every 3 years, it's not going to be pretty, right? So we have a balanced system now. So any sorts of, I would challenge anybody who says they're going to cut something, just tell us what service you're going to cut. If you're going to cut a tax or cut a fee, what service are you going to cut that would have paid for? And I think they owe it to you. What are you going to cut?
Definitely cut costs, definitely. And I have looked at the 2026 approved budget, okay? And immediately comes to my face, only one department taking 20% of the budget of the town. One department, followed by the fire department. That one department is the police department, okay? Now, I don't like to give you the impression that I am against the police. I have the highest respect for the police officer. But it's not their fault to hire 35 of them, and in the new budget, you're gonna hire 3 more. Okay? And I did my job here. Okay? I looked at the national average, how many residents per police officer. It was 400 residents per one police officer. Here in Carolina Beach, we have only 200 per police officer. Half the workload. And if they have to work their butts off, that's expected. Because everybody that serves the public has to work their butts off because they're not working for themselves. Okay? And if I want to increase the public revenue, I will put a gate in front of each sidewalk and say, pay to walk. Okay? That's how I think about pay to walk. And the last one is my ceiling stool is different than Mr. Barber's leg stool. We use it a lot of engineering, man, machine, money. Man is the one that makes things happen. The machine is the tools with which you make it happen. And of course, it takes money to make it happen. I hope that answers your question.
That's your answer. You answered the question.
So it's to reduce cost and mainly from the fact areas where we have overkill to build a empire. 20%, okay, 20% of the budget going to one department.
Okay. Thank you. I was curious if the case of these staff were.
Yeah.
How's that work?
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Gates.
Okay, I don't know that was a joke.
Oh.
It was not serious.
I didn't have it. Okay, thank you, sir. Good work. Okay, minutes. Rising sea levels, flooding, and storm resilience are major issues for our community. What's, sorry.
Sea levels are not by code.
Yes, sir, you're not on the agenda tonight. Thank you, Robert. What specific steps would you take to protect our town?
I think we've all met with the North End Alliance and everything, and they've done some great work already evaluating this. The town's seawall projects will be going ongoing, and that's going to be the biggest tool that we have, I believe. We have to continue with that, building the seawalls. I think the infrastructure projects are going to help us get water off of the out of the town, off the island. But we also have to be able to keep water from the canal from coming onto the island. So I think the infrastructure projects and evaluating any other means available to us to combat this, working in conjunction with the North End Alliance, had some studies done already, and I think there are some areas there that can be investigated further. This is what possibly can be done. I'm not a scientist, I'm a playthrough scientist. So I know that we have a flooding issue. We've had a flooding issue forever, as long as I can cover that. But continuing with seawalls where we're able to is a major thing. The maintenance projects that the county's undertaking is there has to be a plan to make sure that we clean out and keeping
So the question is around flooding and what's the strategy there, right?
Yep.
So flooding is not all the same, right? We had the benefit, I use that increasingly, of PTCA. So what we found out from PTCA is we found every weak part of the system, right? We wouldn't have wished it, but it was helpful, right? Because what we know is flooding is not only a Canal Drive issue, it is an issue on Canal Drive and has been for many, many years. And we know, we have studies, we know the plan, it all involves seawalls. You're never going to 100% stop it, but the land, the lots there that do not have seawalls are where all the water's coming in from. And we know that. Step one was the town owned several of those lots. So the town is doing their part. We have replaced the seawalls or built seawalls on the land that we own. We have requested from the state government the authority, by whatever means they will give it to us, to compel property owners to put seawalls on their property. That will help a lot. But that is not the only flooding. What we know where the biggest problem are, obviously around the lake, right? So you see additional pumping capacity going in there. You've got the Texas Avenue pump station. We know that needs additional pumping capacity. We have been told, hopefully, that in the next state budget, we will get some money from the state to help with that problem. But we've had flooding in neighborhoods that, as I think Mr. Rouse mentioned, in neighborhoods that have never had flooding. And so we got to address those issues too. So I think it's going to be a long battle, but I think we have a good plan. It involves a few things. You saw council change, thanks to Commissioner Rouse. I'll give him a lot of credit because he worked very hard on it in our Unified Development Ordinance. Is we reduced or we increased the amount of impervious surface that you're required. We reduced how high you can build your lot. So you see the rules are changing to help going forward. That doesn't fix if you're in that situation right now. So I think we have to just, the whole flooding, we live by the ocean. We're a flat island. And I think we have to address it as we go and keep a consistent eye on the problem as things change. And I think you see your town doing that. We've done a ton of, we've been dropping, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I think we probably dropped close to $1 million into that last year. And we will continue to do that. But it's a serious issue. I don't talk to property owners who've been flooded 2 and 3 times in their homes. That's not good and not acceptable.
Flooding happens because the fact that the water is higher than the land. And does it take a scientist to figure that out? We didn't have to spend, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a figure, correct me if I'm wrong, but $2 million for an engineering firm to tell us what we already know. This money could be spent to solve the problem rather than just tell us what we already know. Now, to prevent flooding, seawall is not going to do it because the water will always find a way around that. Pumps are not going to solve it because there's no pumps that we can take all the floods away. The only solution is to raise the land. This is the only way. I know that some of you will say that will cost a lot of money. I know that. But it doesn't have to be in 1 year or 2 years. But it has to be systematically done, one bit at a time. The worst case first, and then the next one and the next one. Over the years, the problem will go away, and we'll never have to struggle with seawalls or pumps or floodplains or the dust. Well, the north end is part of our island, so we cannot ignore their needs and services. And we say this is a problem. They bought the property knowing that there is floods. Yes, but now, those may be the first owners. Now they have people bought in there and they didn't know that. So, or maybe they knew what they want out of hand. But now, I bet you that all the owners are not original ones. It's funny happening years and years ago. Does that cover the question, or did I just say it? Okay. One more time, I'm confused go with it or no with it?
I've never said that, but.
John, not a big line.
Yep.
Jim, will you read the question again?
Rising sea levels, flooding, and storm resilience are major issues for our community. What specific steps would you take to protect our town?
Well, I've taken a look at the Acton study, which was done by a group of engineers, and they came up with some solutions, their idea from engineers. I've also attended all of the different presentations. I believe I've been to all of them, that Dr. Renarde and a group of scientists, I'm not sure there were any engineers there, but there were scientists. They took a look at it. There was a lady, and I was at an event that I was asked to go to, and her name was, I believe it's Georgia Brown, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Cape Fear Alliance. She had some rather interesting ideas, and these are ideas that you have to, build up the land or things like that. These are things that could be done in the water to make it quicker, that you could actually accomplish a lot more quickly. So I think probably the majority of the seawater rise and the sustainability, a lot of that is occurring in the north end. It doesn't mean there's not flooding. There certainly is, I referenced it earlier, flooding Texas Avenue that Mayor Harvey brought up. It's a great case where the pumps just weren't of size and implemented so that they could take care of it. But I believe that is actually already in process to be fixed. But I think there's a lot of things we can do going by the studies, and I forget the exact height of the seawalls, and there was some legislation that's trying to be renewed to allow the town to require seawalls in areas where the water is coming in out of the Intercoastal Waterway, Yacht Basin coming through. Will that happen in the legislature? I don't know, but you need to understand that the town has asked for that, and whether or not that passes in the legislature is out of our hands. But that was a request within the Acton study, and in agreement with the Dr. Renarde, and they were from several. I know it was NC State University, I believe UNCW, but several universities. They were in agreement. The only thing they disagreed on, or they didn't intentionally disagree, there were different years in which they did it, how high the seawalls should be. So I think those things, I think what's important, and also is the lady's idea from Cape Fear Alliance. I think what you can do is start trying some things versus having it, and I don't think it has to be a $50 million project. I think residents in the town, and in condition of the road that calls up the flooding, I think they'd be happy to see some first steps and some second steps just to do that. In regards to the flooding in other parts of the island, I think two things. We have to have the infrastructure to handle it, which is why we're going to borrow that $10 million. And secondly, what was voted on in planning and zoning is to limit to 65% the amount of lot coverage that you can have of impervious surface, and that includes your driveway. A lot of you may not know this, but up until we sent that to council and council approved it, you technically in Carolina Beach could have concreted or paved your entire yard. You would have had to have paid a fee for it, but you actually could have done that. And so we stopped that, and we didn't take the size of anyone's home, but we made it so that couldn't happen because, and we also increased, limited where you were able to come up the size of, beside a home that's existing and build another home this high, and all of a sudden this guy's getting water he's never had before. So those are some of the things we've done. I believe it's doable. I think we have to start taking first steps, and we don't need to talk about it forever, or the next time somebody's running for office, we'll talk about it. I'd like them to look back and say, this is what we're trying. It takes a long time. It takes months and months to see if something is going to work. If you make incremental improvements, I think it's important.
Thanks. Nancy, did you start with this question? Great. Clint Martin, can I answer this question first? What motivated you to run for office, and how do you define successful leadership for our town?
Are we talking the first time or this
Today.
today? You know, if you had asked me 6 years ago, would I still be in office today, I would probably call no. I mean, my intent was, I'm a software engineer and I've managed these large projects over the years, and I know step one is you gotta have a plan. What is the goal, and then what's the plan? What is the goal, and what is the plan to get there? Right? Without that, and that's what I saw in the town was a lot of talk about things and a lot of well-intended, hardworking people. And I remember when I first came in, can we just write it down? Can we write it down, communicate the plan? And if it takes us 10 years to get there, then fine, but at least we're moving in a common direction. We're all rowing in a common direction. So I think I've done that. So you see, we talked about the infrastructure plan as being one of them that's out there, the tourism master plan that's out there. These are all plans that didn't exist before. So the reason to run, when you put 6 years of your life into getting a plan approved in a council of 5, so you got to at least get 3 people or 2 other people to agree with you. We're on that precipice, and so for me to walk away now, I've just finally gotten to the reason I wanted to run in the first place. So that's what motivates me, is to see us move forward. The town's made a miraculous financial recovery. You know, we're in the bell of the ball now in this region. I hear from mayors all over. We're doing very well. The town is in very good shape. So is that good? We rest on that? Oh, no way. We got to this point for a reason. We got to this point to be able to move us forward in those areas. So that's why I'm running. And I never said I didn't want to. I may have said I didn't create the problem. That is true. But I'm more than happy to pin the solution. You can pin the solution on me.
You said, like, should I repeat it?
No, I remember the question. I am very comfortably retired engineer. And the reason I'm running is because every day, I walk the town, I look around and I see things could be done better, improve, look better, flourish. That's how I think. That's how my mind thinks. So that couldn't find a better place to make my wish come true except to run for the council. Okay, for the mayor job of the council, to work with the council. And also is because I heard the same thing over and over in the last election. And, you know, infrastructure, and I don't see any hole in the ground to fix the plan. Not one, not any place.
You should walk around the lane. There's a big hole there. Sorry.
I really don't like to run negative campaign, but facts are facts. I want to go back quickly to the police department, and I got the crimes. How many crimes committed in 2023? It's 182 crimes. 2 rape, 3 robberies, and 22 aggressive assault. The rest, property crimes, which is minor. So even if they are all serious, 182, if you divide by 35 police officers, that each police officer will be responsible for 5 crimes. Not 5 a week, not 5 a month. That's 5 for a whole year. So if you tell me that you're working your ass off, I don't know if this is the case. Okay? So back to the question.
Please.
Somebody forgot.
You can imagine. I'll repeat it. What motivated you to run for mayor? And how do you define successful leadership?
Okay. As I said, I don't like to be one negative campaign, but
It's a positive question.
lots of questions. Okay, I want to be hands-on mayor. Hands-on. I don't mean that I'm there to just means and names. I question, scrutinize every figure the town manager come up with. Why you need that? Why you want to spend it here? With all the target is to improve business, reduce taxes, and make it a good livable place for our residents. Awesome.
What motivated you to run for office, and how do you define successful leadership for our town?
I was reluctant to run for office this time. I never have before. I've said no to people that asked me for many years, and you guys know it's hard. Not a lot of people want to do it. What motivated me to do it is I didn't just show up. I've been involved. I talked to the people on this council, the one before that, and back to 2005. I just always try to stay informed because I'm genuinely curious, or if I see things, I want to understand. I was on the Land Use Planning Committee before people heard much about the Land Use Planning Committee. I was on the Unified Development Ordinance Committee. Both of those are the plans we have in place for our town now, and they will last probably another 10 years. As I mentioned, I served on planning and zoning for the last 9 years. I've been on Board of Adjustment for a couple. I am motivated only because I believe I can help, and I believe we're at the precipice of something good that can happen, but if it's not handled well, then it may not go as well. When you start borrowing money to finish a project, man, there's about 1,000 ways that can go sideways. So I would like to, I'm not talking about trying to manage the infrastructure project or the spending of this 10 million, but I would like to at least stay on track enough to say how much have we spent and what percentage of the project do we have completed. Now that's not an equal number sometimes because you have to invest more up front, but there has to be some way to take track of that so that you don't spend 100% of the money and get 60% of the project done. My method of leadership, or my idea of leadership, would be you don't sit on a dais at town hall and kind of come up with what you think is best and not ask anybody. So my method is just like what I do in normal, is talk to the people in the town and go to the businesses, because everyone, we need you as residents. We also need those businesses, even if the owners don't live here, we have to have them. They're super important. So talk to the businesses, talk to the residents, actually listen to the feedback. If you don't completely agree, ask them why they feel the way they do and explain the way you feel. And maybe you find out that neither one of you are completely right or you're completely wrong. Maybe there's somewhere in the middle that's a little bit better place for everyone to be. And I'm approachable, I have been approachable, and I think people will approach me and say, hey, I need your help, and actually listen to them.
So what motivates me is, like I said, I ran 4 years ago, relatively new in town, had a lot to learn. And it takes me 4 years to try to learn. I've also seen this town made huge strides forward under our current council. As Mr. Roush just said, the wrong people in charge can make things go south in a hurry. So we need a kind of keen eye on spending. We need a keen eye on what keeps our quality of life good here. And I think Mr. Tom's point about the police force there, he's kind of cherry picking his facts there a little bit, I'll say. While we have 6,000 full-time residents around town, we have to average that out over the course of the year with our tourists. It's a much larger multiple of that. So the reason why we only have 130 some odd crimes is because of our police force. most renowned fire departments in the state as well. People come from other towns to our town, to the police force and the fire department, and that's why people like to come here. So success for me means we keep supporting this, we keep that path forward, and we keep this as a place that people want to come while being mindful of spending.
Thank you. Youssef, you're up first on this next question. How will you ensure transparency and accountability in town government decisions?
Well, I invite everybody to attend the meetings for one, ask a question for another, be involved for the third. So attend, ask, cast your opinion, not just ask. So attend the meeting, and when you hear something that you don't understand, ask questions. And when you have something positive to say or criticism, you say it. That's how I see it. I want to make sure that I'm not against the police department. I am just quoting the numbers. Okay? The reason for crimes, 182 crimes is wrong because we have that many police officers. We could have less than that. And I just give you the number. Each officer will be responsible for 5 crimes. Now, I believe that the police officer can handle more than 5 crimes a year. So the number doesn't jive here. Okay, so I'm not against the police officers. Actually, I do want, as I said before, I have the highest respect for the police officers. They're always polite, well trained, groomed, and they don't offend you. They help you. Okay? So, but the number we have, it's an overkill. We are building empires.
Youssef,
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
How will you ensure transparency and accountability in town government decisions?
As I said, get involved, ask questions, and cast your opinion. Get in touch with the councilors, with the mayor, with the city manager, and know what's going on all the time. It's not just like you pay taxes, somebody taking your taxes and spending it somewhere. So you have the right to know where this money is going. Okay, that's how it is.
Great, thanks. Ultimately. Repeat.
Please.
How will you ensure transparency and accountability in town government decisions?
I think it's pretty simple. You just talk to people, and before you're going to make a decision, I think our council already does this, and I think the ones prior to them did as well. I've known a number of the people that have been on council 3 years. At least they talk to me, and they were always open to me, but letting people know they can talk to you, how you feel about it, how do you feel about it, how is it going to affect you, what do you think? So I just believe in talking about it with the residents, with the business owners, are both super important before you're making any big decision, and then leading them, letting them tell you, and then you're left with a decision. If you've asked a number of people in different parts of the island, different walks of life with different opinions, then you have to make the opinion. And once again, it's not always one answer is the best and the other answer is all wrong. Sometimes you have this situation where in between may have a compromise and a good outcome. But since the police department was brought up, I want to know how many people, how many too many do we have? You said we've got too many. How many police officers should we eliminate? I say this, I'm fully behind the CBPD and the fire department for whatever we need that the leaders of that do. So how many should we get rid of?
I'm going only by the national average.
John,
I did not
we're going to
invent
stop with update, and we're going to move on with the rest of the questions.
So I think Mayor Barnaby saying before about the number of workshops that were open to the public by this council. There were at least 3, 4 public workshops during the budget process. And I know the ones that I attended, I could count on one hand the number of people that showed up from the public. So the town is making itself available and being transparent. But people have to make the effort to come to one here. You know, the council can't go knock on your door and tell you what you're doing every day. I mean, it's incumbent on townspeople to want it. You can't just sit here and say, nobody communicates to me when we don't show up. So I applaud the current council for their openness, and I'd like to see that continue. Because I do think the town's done a great job of communicating things, and it's always been open, and I don't think that should change.
When you started last question.
Did I?
No.
You said it started, let's just start that on transparency.
You were still with us.
And your door prize is free.
So the first step of transparency is be willing to write down on a piece of paper what you believe you're going to do, right? As long as you hide it, nobody's going to know. Oh, I don't want to tell you. I'm gonna hold it over here and wait and see whether you like it or not, right? And what you saw this council do for the very first time, this council that's sitting now put a strategic plan together for this town. Right, wrong, or like it, don't like it, they made a stand and said, this is our priorities. It's published, it's out there, it's been communicated. That's step 1, right? Then step 2 is you got to hear from the public about what they like or they don't like, right? So we opened up town hall. We've had more open houses in the last 4 years than we've ever had. I expect that to continue. And then we each got together, the 5 members of council. You got 5 totally different personalities, right? We interact differently with the public. But what we did was we got together and said, okay, in your way, whatever that way may be, you need to get out and make sure you're out there talking to people so you can see it. You'll see, like Joe loves making videos. You see his videos. And he'll go find problems around town, make great video, explain to people what's going on. Deb is all about communicating what is happening so that you, and she's about a lot more than that, Deb. I see you back there, so don't but, making sure you understand what's going on and what's your opportunities to speak. Jay has done a great job out there running project status, posting that on social media. Where are we? What's going to cost? What do we pay for it? When's it going to be done? Right? I started the first time ever the mayor's report, right? So I do a mayor's report every week to tell you everywhere I go, every meeting I go to, and offer to you to ask me any questions. And I get tons of emails from people that I find that I have a much better conversation with people through email than I do through social media. But that's just my style. Councilman Hopper went out and created his own blog, and he posts about things he likes. That is an open council, people. I tell you, you go around, you look at other towns, and you ask them if their politicians do that, their elected officials do that. Few do like this town does. And I'm not taking all the credit. It is a team effort from town council to be out there. So I think the way I think we'll do the same thing. I would totally expect if I'm elected and these 2 gentlemen at the end are elected, I expect them to jump right in their way, whatever that way is. It might be more face-to-face. It might be going to more community events. I don't know. It's their personality and the way they want to do it. But your council needs to collectively be out there and be transparent as to what's going on. And I have tried to be, there are no secrets from my standpoint. I'll answer any question from anybody and go anywhere. I'm out there in the public. I've gone to Lord Jim, that would be probably 50 or 60 ribbon cuttings, it seems like, in the last year. I'm at almost every event in this town. And that's not a complaint, by the way. go there for a purpose, because I go there to represent you and give people a chance to ask questions, especially with the ribbon cuttings. I love to hear from the new business owners about their struggles and how the town can help them. Obviously, we can't run a business for them, but if there's anything that the town can do to help them, we certainly try to do that. So I expect transparency to continue. One of my goals was to get that moving 6 years ago to a point where it doesn't need me. So even if Mr. Hassan is, I think transparency at Town Hall will continue.
Okay. Affordable housing is an increasing challenge. What solutions do you propose for workers and their families who want to live here?
Yeah, it's difficult. You've seen your county commissioners struggle with this because they're actually, that is their area, I guess, of responsibility. Not that we don't bear some responsibility. It's tough in a beach town because it's a definition of what's affordable, right? There's not a house on this island that would count in most circles as affordable housing. So how does the town help? How do we, certainly keeping as much balance and controlling costs to keep it as affordable. I mean, I'll be honest with you. At the current housing prices, I probably couldn't live here if I didn't own a house that I bought 20 years ago, right? I mean, and I'm sure some of you are in that same boat. If I had to pay the street price of my house, then I probably would. So I'm counting in affordable, meaning that we get to stay in our houses as well. Certainly, we would work with the county. I talk to the county commissioners quite often, and what they're trying to do is what they call workforce housing, which is not the same as affordable housing. Workforce housing is where you can provide housing at a lower cost, lower rents, and working with developers. The county can do that because the county owns the land. And the only way to address the affordability in the housing market, you have to have the land, because that is the public's sort of bargaining chip in the game, to make these public-private partnerships with builders to create affordable housing. The town of Carolina Beach does not own land for that, so I don't see us in the middle of those deals, but we can certainly work with our county commissioners and see what we do. It is a huge problem. The problem here, if you talk to business owners, is if you've been around a while, we used to get workers from Southern and Inner County. Then we got them from Leland. Now we're in Pender County and far reaches of Brunswick County. And if you listen to the employers, they'll tell you that they're having to pay employees, say if you work in a hotel, you got to pass 15 other hotels to get here that would employ you, and you would not have to drive near as far. So it is a serious issue. I do not have a crystal ball of how to solve that, but I just think we need to work with the county as much as we can.
I have a crystal ball. Very simple. You want an affordable house? Build an affordable house. Right? It's not a big issue here. How do you get the money? You subsidize the house. Cost, building material is going to be the same, labor is going to be the same, and the cost of building will be the same. The only way you're going to get some affordable housing is you have to subsidize. And I have to find a way to come up with a subsidy to make it affordable housing. Just as simple as that. A plan and subsidy. That's how affordable housing can happen.
This attempt at affordable housing has been made, and it is in progress in several different areas all over Hanover County, and particularly Wilmington, where we are. But most recently, if you just look at Monkey Junction area, there's 200 or 300 there, and coming back this way from Monkey Junction, there's several more. So I believe that the first thing I would do is, I wouldn't try to think I understand how it is to run a business here. Personally, I know we have some in the audience here, I would go talk to them. What do you hear from the people that work for you? Yes, the fact is, more and more, they're driving past places that could look. We as residents need them. Do I have the answer? No. There's been a couple of ideas thrown out. Will those work? I don't know. But the first thing I would do is ask the business owners. Now, there is one business owner that I've spoken to about this most recently. I won't mention their name, but I would do the same thing with everyone and then go back to her and have further discussions before you can even, for me, to even begin to understand how to maybe approach fixing that would to really, really understand exactly what's going on, what they're hearing, what are the challenges, etc. I think I would do that with most of the problems that I would have, that I would be tasked to fix. But solving the problem when I only know it's housing and not the underlying causes other than broad term housing, I think I'd have to understand more before I would venture a fix or a potential assistance to the fix. Because without understanding, I think it would just be a shot in the dartboard with a blindfold on.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this is a town Carolina Beach issue, and it's more of a county issue. The county is working to address it, obviously. But there's a lot of pushback from the public, too. So there's a balancing act that has to be done by government and the public. So one of the things is, for the same reason that people come here, we want to keep increasing tourism. We have mostly service jobs on the island. But the way to keep those people gainfully employed is for our businesses to be successful. So focusing on tourism, focusing on keeping the experience here for people to come here. Keep improving that experience. The new restaurants that have opened up, they're bringing people in from all over the place, but they're offering them a decent wage and a good experience there. So I think, as Mayor said, people are going to want to come here. We have to give them a reason to want to come here. And people are going to come here and spend their money and we give them a good product. And that will help people in service industry be able to afford to live, make housing more affordable. We can't fix the affordable housing problem. It's not an island situation. It's a whole county. It's everywhere. It's not just here. It's the whole country. So I think in order for us to address it, we want to keep feeding the engine that drives this town, which is tourism. The more people we can keep gainfully employed for as much of the year as we can, that makes housing that much more affordable for those people.
Youssef, this is your question and answer first, please. During peak tourist season, traffic, parking, and infrastructure strain affect residents. What are your plans to address these challenges?
I have thought about this, and it seems that we have a lot of traffic on one road, it's a Lake Park Boulevard. And if we can be proactive, okay, and you're gonna be surprised what I'm gonna tell you now, is to be proactive and think of another bridge to the island. First for safety, and to divert all the traffic that going to the Kirk Beach to another to Dow Road. So the bridge will come from River Road across the state park, connect with the Dow Road. You will see a significant reduction in the traffic on the park boulevard. I cannot see anything other than that. People will come here to have a good time. They're not going to stop it. They're not going to say, no, it's crowded. Go drive to that street, on that street. People have the free to drive wherever he can. So we have to deal with it, and my only, well, it's not the only one, but the way to do it is to be proactive and take it from another bridge.
tourist season, traffic, parking, and infrastructure strain affects residents. What are your plans to address these challenges?
I think the plan for the infrastructure strain is actually why we're borrowing that $10 million we're going to buy, and that we're going to borrow so we can upgrade the infrastructure. And one of the biggest strains on infrastructure, other than on the public safety, that is a huge strain, is water. It is not the availability of water. We have availability. We have nowhere to, we don't have enough storage of the water. As far as traffic, a couple of things on that. All the traffic that comes in the island, it either goes to Dow Road, which doesn't, I mean, it gets backed up, but all of the traffic that goes down Lake Park Boulevard passes all of our businesses. So, yeah, everybody that's lived here, at least if you lived here if you lived here 5 years, you know there's going to be a lot of traffic. I don't think we're going to get rid of the traffic if we're going to have the tourists. And as far as another bridge, forget about the $10 million we want to borrow. I don't know what it costs, but I don't think that's viable. I think the Memorial Bridge is $2.5 billion. Those are rough numbers. Number one, we won't decide whether to build a bridge or not. That's the NCDOT. Don't see that happening. But one thing you folks might not know is the Snows Cut Bridge is ending. It's not dangerous or anything, but it is ending entering end of useful life. So there are talks at the NCDOT about putting that on the schedule. Make no mistake, it's not going to happen in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But it is on the table as, I think it was built around 1960, 61, 60-ish. So that is on the table for doing that, and I don't think that would be viable, even if we had however much that would cost to do it.
I think we have to realize, accept that we live in a tourist town here, a beach town. And in the summer, it's going to get crowded. That's what the funds the road is now. So there's going to be traffic. That's a fact of living here. The other thing is the council's made great strides over the last couple of years of trying to make this town more pedestrian friendly. Biking, walking, safety. Mr. Sides mentioned the sidewalk on Lake Park. That's well underway already. Lake Park Boulevard is a state-controlled road, so we're kind of at the mercy of the state when it comes to that, but that is being done right now. The council has also made strides to try and extend the sidewalk down to Alabama. So, to the extent that we don't have to drive everywhere we go this summer, there's other modes of getting around. And we just have to, we have to accept the fact that we're a tourist town. You go downtown on a Thursday night and there's fireworks. I mean, some people call it a curse. I love going down to the boardwalk on a Thursday night and seeing it packed down there. I mean, it's joy to everybody. That's why we live here. So, if people don't like that kind of congestion, they may be in the wrong place.
Yeah.
During peak tourist season, traffic, parking, and infrastructure strain affects residents. What are your plans to address these challenges?
All right, so let's go back to our history. I know as long as I remember, some of you have been here longer than me, but even if you talking about the Centennial Committee, we learned that traffic problems in Carolina Beach began in the mid-20s when there were cars. So this is not a new problem, but I do think it is a worsening problem. And certainly in my tenure on council, the approach to that problem has been two things: open space and bike and pedestrian pathways. Right? We got to get people out of their cars. We don't need more cars. When you hear about parking decks, we don't need more cars. That makes the problem worse. Right? I asked the question. I walked up on the beach at Easter weekend. Could not even find I couldn't see the sand. And I said, okay, if we had a parking day, where would those people go? Right? I mean, so more cars, more parking is not the answer. It's also not part of your quality of life, right? We've got to get more people, Ben said it perfectly, we got to get people out of the cars and walking again. So you see tons of projects that we've done. Started with Island Greenway, which was started before I came on council. You got the Ocean Boulevard sidewalk, which was a huge improvement this year. You've got the St. Joseph Bike Path or multi-use path, which is still in a planning stage, but it's getting very close to starting. I'm glad that Mr. Hassan likes my plan for the sidewalk to through Wilmington Beach. We got funding for that to get it to Carolina Sands, and we have a grant thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Devin Comp and myself. We worked over the Doug MPO to get our grant application in there to continue that on down. So that is how you combat it. We got to have more open space. You saw council we have a pending offer on the land downtown. That's part of that plan there is to create more open space. You saw us buy Freeman Park, open space, right? We've been fairly consistent for the last 6 years of how we're going to combat this problem. It's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, we want those tourists here, but we don't. There's a line, right? There's a place where we get uncomfortable with it being too crowded. And like I said, I've heard people say free parking. Free parking will go down to Fort Fisher on any given Sunday in the summer. It is absolute chaos. Why? Because it's free parking. Right? I mean, that's why it's there. So if we have the lowest parking rates in the area, or we go free parking, we will be completely overwhelmed. And that's why those things exist.
Okay, great, thank you. So folks, before we close, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, we're going to give each candidate an opportunity to have some closing statements. I wanted to mention a couple of things. First, I wanted to thank the citizens that took the time to send their questions to us. Again, just to reiterate, these were citizens' questions that were asked tonight. They came from the Chamber of Commerce, they came from nowhere other than the citizens of Carolina Beach. So I really want to thank the folks that took the time to put those questions together and send them to us. As importantly, yes, I didn't write. I want to thank this group of gentlemen that are sitting up here. This ain't easy. These guys have been busier than Taylor Swift on a concert tour over the past 2 months. So I think it takes a lot of guts to sit up here. I think it takes a lot of passion, and I think you saw some of that passion tonight. We may not all agree exactly what each of these people are saying, but there's a passion here that exists that everyone here who's a resident of Carolina Beach should be really thrilled about the fact that these guys are willing to take that passion and apply it to governing the town. So if you wouldn't mind, before they do their final comments, I think it's worthy of conversation. And closing comments, I'm going to start with Mr. Rouse, if you don't mind. Concise, 2 minutes. Go for it.
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it, and these gentlemen up here do as well. I didn't just show up. I mentioned to you, I've been here 21 years. I've been around. I wasn't always on planning and zoning or board of adjustments or land use planning committees. The way I started off was down at the boardwalk. There was a boardwalk makeover is what it was then. It turned into Carolina Beach Downtown Initiative, and then it was turned into, we got an umbrella called Pura. But in its simplest form, it was just a boardwalk makeover. And even then, I just loved this place. Maybe it had something to do with my parents on their honeymoon, maybe a little bit, but really what it had to do with just that feel. I've had homes in Myrtle Beach when I was younger. I had a home over near Wrightsville. I like them okay, but I love it here. So I'm just willing to serve you. I was kind of reluctant to do it, but just like I've done on the other things I've done in town, whether it's my real estate business or things with the different committees I've served on, I will do my very best. And I promise I won't be any different 3 years from now or 2 years from now than I am today. I'll try to always tell you the truth. If someone questions that truth, I might call you back up and say I double-checked and it was the truth. Or I may call you up and say, you know, I got that wrong. I won't hesitate to do that. I don't mind being wrong. I think people appreciate we all have been. I just really care about our town. I care about our businesses. I care about people here being safe. And I care about our reputation. So we'll try to make good decisions that, number one, are good for the residents. Number two, sell well to the people who want to come here and spend their money. And really just make a place, whether you come here to live or whether you come here to visit, you want to be here because the people are smiling, people are friendly, and you feel safe, and you have fun, and you plan to come back before you ever leave on that trip.
I just want to thank the Chamber for putting this on tonight for us, giving us this opportunity to speak with you all, and for all of you for coming out tonight, and for everybody that submitted the questions. They were really probing questions that really got to the heart of a lot of issues in town. So we really appreciate that. One thing I do want to comment on, though, it's been said a couple of times over the last couple of days that we have two people running for council for having two open positions. Why are we even here tonight? It's a done deal, blah, blah, blah. We want to hear, I don't want to speak for Wayne, but I know for myself, I want to hear what you all want to say. It would be unfair to the town for us to just hide and wait for election day, assume that we're going to win. And I think that would be a disservice to the town. So I think we both have made the effort to get out there. We're still holding meet and greets and everything, and we all want to hear what's on your minds. So that's why this is great tonight, the questions and everything. And again, I appreciate it. I'm not going to run and hide. I know many of you here already. I'm always available. And I just want to serve this town and help this town continue on the path that it's on right now. Because I think my wife says it the best. First time we came down here, we weren't even sure we wanted to buy here. And first weekend, we bought a condo. And our kids were like, what'd you buy there for? Why didn't you buy in Myrtle Beach? I said, we want. What about you guys? Well, now, all these kids and grandkids later, there's no place in the world they'd rather come than come to Carolina Beach. And I think that's the greatest testament in the world of what this town is. And we've got our friends from Curry Beach here too. Same thing. I mean, this island, it just draws people here. We started coming down one weekend a month, became 2 weekends, became 3 weekends, and soon it was just like, oh, we're not waiting, we're coming down. And that's it. So, you know, I'm going to bring honesty to you. I'm always available. I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to serve you all. And again, back to the three-legged stool, I totally believe in that. We talked about that 4 years ago when I read it. I mean, there's residents, there's tourists, and there's businesses, and they're all weighted equally, so they all need the same attention. And you know, one of those legs falters, and we have a problem on our hands. So that's my pledge to everybody here. That I'll be accountable to you. Thank you.
So I think Jim said it well, but one of the things when you run for office, and I applaud these two guys running unopposed, that's the hardest thing you can do. Because you have to really extra get out in front of people and understand. I want to applaud Mr. Hassan. He came by 2 years ago, said he wanted to run for mayor. We've seen dozens and dozens of this on social media for for 2 years. Who showed up? He showed up. So, thank you for that. We don't agree on a lot of policy. We don't agree on a lot of policy issues, but I applaud him and I appreciate you running it. He's up here pouring his heart out to you and taking those risks, and that means a lot to our community, I think, to have that sort of a dialogue. I think it's very clear. I think the election's clear. It really comes down to which we're all driving to the same goals. Whose plan do you think is going to get you there better? You've seen my plan, right? So you've seen the financial recovery in the town. I think most of us believe our town is better off than it was 6 years ago. We've seen improvements in every aspect. We've got stability at Town Hall. We've not had turnover. I think Vince or maybe Wayne mentioned, we've got one of the best fire departments that's renowned, literally renowned throughout the state. And the same with our police departments. Public safety, as Mr. Hassan mentioned, the crime rate is low. I think things are going very, very well. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think, right? And that's why we vote. And that's why, when we come to November 4th, or hopefully your early vote, you'll make that known, what your wishes are. So I thank you for coming. If there's any questions, all of us are probably having additional meet and greets. If you'd rather have a more intimate setting and sit and ask questions directly to us, I'm sure all of us would invite you to do that. So thanks for coming, and we appreciate you.
I hope this is not the case of saving the best for the last, okay? As I said, I was born in the Mediterranean, close to the Mediterranean, Alexandria, Egypt, next to a salt water. And I had various jobs in North America. None of them was close as the one I got in Malawi. So when we moved to the Malawi, the first thing I would think about is how to have a second home at Carolina Beach. And when we were in Dubai, the prices went sky high, so I couldn't buy anything. So we had to wait for a little while till they come down. And as soon as they came down, I bought the lot, 2009, and moved into the house 2011. But we have been coming here almost every second weekend, and we enjoyed it tremendously. Now, I have a lot of things to say, but things just evaporated. Amazing.
I don't have that way of.
Yeah.
We all do.
I'd like to thank Mr. Thornby for the kind words he said. I really always, wanted to be like him. I wanted to be as tall as he is. And Wayne, I really like your logical thinking, but when it comes to money, if we're going to think that it will cost money, if this project will cost money, we're better not to do it, then we're not going to do anything. So we have to have anything that you're going to think about, or anything that you want to do, it's going to cost money. The federal government, and here's a shocker for you, the federal government gives $1 billion to the states, to all the states. So if we are smart enough, and negotiating skill will prevail to get some big chunk of that money, we have to make a case, and we have to be able to negotiate. So think about $1 billion. That's 9 zeros, okay? And we should be able to get some of that.
Folks, again, thanks for coming out. We really appreciate you coming to listen to these folks tonight. And we hope you leave here smarter and better.
Great job, Jim.